Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Rick Knabb, director here at the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. I'm joined live here at 2:45 p.m. on Wednesday, October the 5th, by Rob Moyeda, who is the warning coordination meteorologist here at the local forecast office for the National Weather Service serving Miami and South Florida. We share the facility here, and we are all preparing for the arrival of Matthew, the conditions going downhill tomorrow morning. Just briefly, I'll summarize what's going on with the storm itself, then we got to talk with Rob about what the local impacts will be potentially here in South Florida, and then we can summarize what else is going to happen down the road. Matthew is over water between eastern Cuba and the southeastern Bahamas. It is getting a little bit better organized than it was when it first left eastern Cuba. It's still a major hurricane, Category 3, with maximum sustained winds 120 miles per hour, moving to the northwest at 12. So that turn to the left that we have been advertising is happening, and it's going to be moving over all the Bahamas today and tomorrow. And on its approach to the Bahamas, with all the warm water there, there's nothing that we see that would cause this system to weaken. It just might go up and down, as major hurricanes often do, as a Category 3 or 4 hurricane. Bottom line, major hurricane approaching Florida, South Florida even, tomorrow night. But before that, the winds, the rains are going to start approaching and arriving in South Florida tomorrow morning. So Rob, what does that mean for what people here in South Florida need to do today, tonight, tomorrow morning?
Well, what that means is that people need to really start preparing today, or really actually be completing the preparations, better said, today, because tomorrow is too late. So we want to take advantage of the rest of the day today to finish their preparations and be ready for at least tropical storm force winds, and in some areas hurricane force winds.
So let's take a look at the forecast track and the watches and warnings, and we'll go hazard by hazard here. And what you see on this graphic is the hurricane and tropical storm watches and warnings. Rob, summarize what's in effect for South Florida, knowing that most of the east coast of Florida and Lake Okeechobee are under hurricane warning.
Yes, hurricane warnings in effect for all of Broward and Palm Beach counties, also for Lake Okeechobee. We have a tropical storm warning for Miami-Dade County, the middle and upper Florida Keys, and then also for the interior and western sections. That includes the counties of Glades, Hendry, and the inland part of Collier County.
And when you look at the National Hurricane Center graphic, you see where the coastal depiction of the warnings are, but at the local forecast office level, you're depicting the risk in inland areas as well.
Absolutely. Hurricanes just don't stop at the coast, right? That's what we always say, and it's for a very good reason. Those hurricane force winds and tropical storm force winds can extend very far inland, and in Florida, they can go across the entire peninsula. So certainly we want people, it's not just a coastal phenomena, it's an inland phenomena as well.
Yeah, so not only high chances of tropical storm conditions over all of the South Florida area, but chances of hurricane force winds, especially as you go north into Broward and Palm Beach County. So let's talk about storm surge. The storm surge risk is not in exactly the same places, not all the places that the hurricane force wind risk is.
That is correct. The storm surge risk is from about West Palm Beach north, near the coast, near and along the coast, through the Cape Canaveral and even north of Cape Canaveral. So those are the areas where, the combination of the storms, forecast storm track, and the winds are combining to produce storm surge that could be life-threatening in those areas north of West Palm Beach.
Yeah, and this is our prototype storm surge watch warning graphic collaborated by the Hurricane Center and the local forecast offices. Bottom line for folks is, if emergency managers are taking a look at this and the potential for storm surge along the coast, if they issue an evacuation instruction supported by the information that we are providing them, then people should go immediately.
Absolutely. They're getting this information. It's in close coordination, emergency managers with the National Weather Service, and they're issuing the evacuation orders based off this information to make sure that people get out. This is the most dangerous part of the storm surge historically, and really in most parts of the country. That's what kills the most people.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like storm surge has much of a chance of being a major issue in Miami-Dade County, for example, because most of the possible tracks here would bring the onshore flow, the surge-producing scenarios, Palm Beach northward.
That's correct. For Miami-Dade County, and even for Broward County, we do expect some increase in the tides, but really more just from the really rough and dangerous surf that's going to be over the Atlantic. Seas of over 20 feet over the Gulf Stream, and that wave energy is going to be moving onshore, so that's going to increase the water levels. But the most significant surge potential is certainly from West Palm Beach northward.
And so There are multiple hazards to deal with, not just wind, but water. And in inland areas of all the South Florida area, you could be dealing with strong winds and with heavy rains causing inland flooding. And then to summarize again what's happening farther up the coast, hurricane watches and warnings north of the South Florida area, including all of the east coast of Florida, and then Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. You could experience tropical storm or hurricane conditions, possibly storm surge, heavy rainfall and inland flooding. We've been collaborating with the state emergency managers, local offices in those states for days. So if you're told to evacuate or take other actions in those states, do what the officials are telling you to do. We don't know for sure if the hurricane is going to come ashore in the warning area, but it is a distinct possibility that the core of a major hurricane will come ashore in the hurricane warning area in Florida sometime tomorrow night. Don't just hope that the system's going to pass just offshore and that makes it all okay for you, right?
Absolutely. We can't assume this is going to be the exact scenario that's going to occur. We have to take into account the fact that even a very small shift to the west in the forecast track could bring the core of this dangerous hurricane right on shore late Thursday night.
And by dangerous, we mean major hurricane, Category 3 or stronger. This is not to be taken lightly. Again, continue to prepare today and tonight in South Florida. The weather will start going downhill and head up the coast tomorrow. Thanks, Rob, for joining us from the local forecast office here in South Florida. And from the National Hurricane Center, I'm Director Rick Knabb. Stay in touch with us at hurricanes.gov, weather.gov/Miami, correct?
That's correct.
And keep following us on social media, and we will continue to update you live from the Hurricane Center via our television partners and here on social media. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next time.